I spoke about this on today's episode of the Hezi. Seeing it as though the play-in is here to stay moving forward, is that going to become a new barometer for some organizations? If you're in Orlando, a Minnesota, a Memphis, year in and year out, if you find yourselves in the play-in, is that enough to keep you happy, right? Are we going to see teams that just are content making the play-in each year and saying, hey, well, we gave ourselves a chance. We've got young players. We know the Warriors have much more lofty goals as we enter this Sunday afternoon matinee to determine who's the 8th seed and who's the 9th seed. I think you all know the details by now. Memphis is pretty much at full strength. Now that they've had Jaren Jackson Jr. back for about 10 games, they are missing Grayson Allen, one of the better or only shooters on this roster. I think it's an ankle problem. He's had a lot of ankle injuries. We know the Ja, Steph, little Twitter back and forth with Iguodala. It's always a fine line between cockiness and confidence, but I think we're seeing young Ja write some checks that he's not able to cash yet. Let's go. This is a very difficult cut to defend. You need help from your big. Looney has to shade over here. It's an impossible angle to defend for Wiggins, and Brooks gets an easy one downhill. And then you talk about executing early. Look at the ball denial from Dillon Brooks on Steph Curry, forcing Draymond into an early three. Perfect execution if you're Memphis to start this game. Ja can get 2 feet in the paint whenever he wants. The question is, what does he do with it from there? Valanciunas already all over the offensive glass. The key is you got to make him pay on the other end. He's not exactly a rim protector, as you see Wiggins test that theory immediately. Watch Dillon Brooks pick up Steph in the backcourt. It's a marathon, not a sprint, and I think you see a lot of these defenders spend a lot of energy early on Steph. They may get him off to a slow start, which is maybe all you can ask for, but for 48 minutes, good luck with that. Jaren Jackson Jr., this team leads the league in offensive rebounding. Watch Memphis hunt the mismatch and understand inevitably the help's going to have to come, and as soon as a body leaves Valanciunas, he ducks to the restricted and catches it too deep for anything good to happen for the Warriors defensively. How you counter this? Well, they've got 2 7-footers on the floor. If you push the pace, it's going to work in your favor as you see Draymond go coast to coast. Here's Ja just keeping it simple and using that float game off the glass nice and easy, but it just wasn't the start I think we expected from the Warriors. Here's a terribly telegraphed turnover, but they didn't execute or bring the energy you would expect in this type of playoff environment. Jaren Jackson Jr. absolutely lives on the three-point line. He bangs it, and Kerr's got to stop it. I think part of Steph getting off to slow starts is the defender has the energy to face guard him all over the floor for about 10 minutes, right? And that's where Wiggins comes into play. Early in games, especially in the playoffs, we're going to need his offensive firepower. We get a lucky bounce and a finish out of the timeout. The other thing that I think we're going to see is teams are going to have this fake handoff better scouted, particularly the Lakers. Draymond's not going to be able to get all the way downhill. AD and his ability to recover is going to be there. Then I thought we got the three-point whistle. Look, I'm all for this being called. An offensive foul on Jackson Jr.'s 3-ball. Even if it means Steph gets hit with it a couple times, please just get that shit out of the game. He finally gets Kyle Anderson switched on him. Juan T checks in and woke up with the 3-ball in his hand. For me, against this Lakers team, Draymond is the key. He's going to have to score and get downhill. The difference is they have so much size and rim protection. We know he struggles to finish oversized in the paint, so he's going to have to make some floaters and get himself to the line. They did a great job getting Valanciunas catches where he was comfortable. And here's the key to me. Look, if Dillon Brooks is going to pick Steph up 94 feet from the basket, put the ball in his hands. That's what backs him off, and you see him finally get on the board here and catch a rhythm when they put the ball back in his hands. But then I say all that to say, let's not kid ourselves. If Steph wants to start games off ball, that's his decision, right? You think he's being told to get off the ball? I don't think so. As you see him start to catch a rhythm late in this first quarter, maybe it's strategy. Maybe Steph likes guys to burn a little bit of energy off ball. He wants to wear them down before he gets back on it. I don't know. But I do recommend he starts on ball against the Lakers because that off-ball shit, they just swallow it up. And this is how they'll have to defend Drummond. Gang effort, keeping him off the glass, try to strip and rip him. He's a goof, and he will turn it over if you force the issue. Poole checks in late in the first quarter and gets right to work in the mid-range. And it was a good righting of the ship, right? Because it started off rocky, and now you look here as time winding down, and we've taken the lead. Second quarter, second unit. One area Memphis is actually small is their backcourt as far as their depth goes. Desmond Bane, DeAnthony Melton, all like 6'3". Jordan Poole, we've talked about this all season long, protecting yourself. I always go back to Monte Ellis. He used to go to the cup as hard as anybody. I've never seen him fall like that. Poole gets a jolt through his spine We know he's going to be all right because that's what he is. But at some point here, he's going to have to start thinking about protecting himself when he gets to the cup. Great drop off to Loon. Love to see him going up without the pump fake. Here's Poole playing with a little more pace and then using that lethal first step to get into his step back. And Steph's feeling it, man, because the second unit has pushed out this lead. Now, we're going to need to see this consistently, but what it's looking like right now is with the second unit, you can give Poole the ball and just get out of the way. He's a certified bucket. You know who kind of saved the day for Memphis in the second quarter, though? It was slow-mo himself, Kyle Anderson. Made a couple shots where you're like, what in the fuck was that, right? But that's kind of his game. Like, I can't believe he just made that looking like Vince Vaughn's biracial son. I would be curious to see Ja playing with some more athletes. Clearly, he wants to push the pace and play fast, but look who he's running with. Dillon Brooks, slow-mo, Valanciunas. A lot of the times he has to kind of hit the brakes here, but you see again, Valanciunas spent the entire first half in the restricted area. And then there was this phase here where Dillon Brooks was trying to top block Steph. And this is what you'll see the Lakers do, but the reason the Lakers can get away with it is because of all those athletes and rim protectors. When you don't have athleticism and size behind you when you do this, you're just left out to dry as you saw Steph relentlessly attack the basket. He did pass up some threes for whatever reason in this first half right here. He just didn't seem to like the windows that he was getting. Now, this to me is Ja at his best, when he drives with the intention to create for others, and you can see where he takes off from. He had no intent of finishing that basket, and that's when he's at his best. Too many times he gets up in the air and he tries to finish in some weird or crazy fashion, and it just leads to inefficiency. Wiggins quietly chipping in. It felt like he scored all his baskets in that corner of the floor. Ja napping on the defensive end gets Juan T an easy one, and then here is some basketball IQ. It's very nuanced here, but you're going to see an outlet pass. I want you to watch Juan look back and glance and understand they're going to try to block this. Let me just put it on the backboard. Let me not try to turn that over or dunk it or draw contact. I'll just put it on the backboard and get the two. Ja's going to hit a big shot here with the half winding down. The conversation, when you talk about freak athletic point guards, it used to be Wall and Westbrook. Who's going to learn to shoot first? Now I feel like it's Morant and Fox. Who's going to learn to shoot first? Only time will tell. You see it's a 6-point game headed into the half. We're talking about guarding Steph Curry. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Dillon Brooks, not quite the same energy to start, and he wasn't ready. He pulls up from deep. Look, it's impossible to guard him the entire time, not just physically, but the mental endurance it takes to pay attention to him constantly. Andrew Wiggins, another 10-rebound game, but you felt this one. You felt it in his hustle and his effort, specifically on the offensive glass. Look at him sell out here. Watch yourself on the scores table, or whatever the hell they call that thing. I can't tell you how many times I've seen Valanciunas just become the forgotten man for this Memphis offense. He can get you 20 a game if you give him the touches. He gets a deep touch there in the second half. And then Jaren Jackson Jr., this is why he's so prolific from three. You don't see 7-footers able to stop and pop like that on the move. Dillon Brooks, he's put some time in the gym. You see a kid finish like that, you say, okay, Hooper. Does anybody get more sneak blocks than Andrew Wiggins, where the guy has no idea he's about to get blocked and then he comes flying in, defense leading to offense, and Steph had Ja looking like Chris Cross all afternoon, just making him jump. I'll tell you what, this was impressive. Jaren Jackson Jr., remember, fresh off this knee surgery, staying in front of Steph, and then even picking his pocket. And so I think ultimately he moves to the 5, right? And Valanciunas is elsewhere. These are the type of possessions that just seep the spirit of your defense. They close out on Steph, get the ball out of his hands. Here comes the help. Up, the help gets help. There's the rotation. The ball ends back up in Steph's hands, 3-ball. And that's Kerr's end game with the offense. That's why he loves it so much, because of what it psychologically can do to break down teams. Wiggins, a big rip through and finished with the left hand. And Jenkins has got to stop things here because this game started to open up like Rory and Maul. One of the next phases for Ja is going to be playing a little bit without the ball, learning to move without the ball. Here he gets a nice one out of the timeout, but too many times he comes rumbling into the paint, puts up a crazy shot, and then the floor is unbalanced when they're trying to get back defensively, because a lot of the times he sells out on those shots and he can't get back, as you see Steph patiently waiting for an efficient shot. In fact, it's an and one. Here's a real ugly sequence from Ja from behind the arc. I'm not going to bet against him learning to shoot just because he's so competitive. but he's going to have to swallow his ego and rebuild his shot. It's fundamentally flawed. It's not just a rhythm thing or shot selection. He's got to raise that set point so he can get a better arc. This relocation stuff, yeah, that's fine in the regular season. It's not going to work, especially against the Lakers. They're going to have to realize that going into the matchup, not halfway through the third quarter, Steve. And you see Memphis out there with 3 non-shooters as Draymond continuing to play much bigger than he is at the rim. And then this 8-man rotation, we know the chemistry has been solidified. Shout out to whoever added me the Draymond interview, talking about the confidence of shooting in-game. We've talked about that theory for a long time, and proof in point, Kevon Looney was forced into this shot, right? The shot clock's winding down, so he has to take it. Therefore, he makes it. So much of shot making is wanting to take the shot. Speaking of wanting to take the shot, Jordan Poole is not only proving to have one of the bigger bags in the league, but he's also starting to show a real knack for momentum swinging baskets, pushing us up 16 headed into the fourth. And so it's a wrap. Draymond's got his kids down on the bench. Well, no, not so fast, because Memphis's Draymond, an emotional leader, Dillon Brooks, was not going to go out without a fight. He hits a mid-range jumper, and I put him, remember the other day, I put him on my all-will team. As you see, Juan T gets rolled up under and has to check out of the game. It seems like we're just getting someone chipped up every single game. But I talked about Dillon Brooks being on the all-will team, a guy that has the ability to make clutch baskets and score much more than you think he could, right? Kind of just wills in shots. Here he is out in transition, and it was a last-ditch effort as Memphis kind of turned it up a notch defensively to start this fourth quarter, and before you knew it, it was a single-digit game on the back of Dillon Brooks. And so Kerr's not fucking around. Out of the timeout, he brings everybody back about the 9-minute mark, and Steph gets to cooking right away. Probably should have put Valanciunas in some more pick and rolls when he was out there. And then really their only true shooter on the floor, Desmond Bane, knocks a big 3-ball down. Here's the problem I had with some of these whistles late. They wanted to swallow the whistle all game, and then fourth quarter comes around, and all of a sudden Dillon Brooks is getting to the line like he's Luka. The other issue that I had brought up in today's podcast as you see Steph turn it over was, did you notice they weren't giving us replays of some of these foul calls? Like this looked like a very clean block from Draymond. We didn't even get another look at it. He just went straight to the free throw line. And so he's fired up, and because of that, it probably led to the inaccuracy on that backdoor lob to Wiggins. Dillon Brooks, I mean, he took over in this thing. He looked like he was about to put us away here with the and one to tie this game up. 8 straight points from him in this fourth quarter, and then Draymond Green with the flop of the year. He gets busted Billy D out this bitch, and the Warriors bench couldn't be happier. From a purist standpoint, I hate the call, but as a Warriors fan, you gotta love it. And look, that's kind of the cost. He does a lot of extracurricular physical things on the floor, and so he runs the risk of picking up cheap fouls like that if someone wants to take advantage of it. Ja getting to his sweet spot with the floater and taking the lead here. But guess who it is answering with a big bucket to retake the lead for the Warriors? Watch Poole sprint to the corner, same spot as a quarter ago, same result. 15 points in 25 minutes, and it felt like every single one of those baskets was big. Now with Brooks off the floor and off Steph, the split action was generating wide open looks, but it's Maple cleaning it up again on the offensive glass. 10 boards for him. It's a 3-point game. The split action, when you add Poole as the other splitter, it just becomes far more dynamic because he's an actual threat to get the ball and do something. Steph's not going to miss 2 in a row. Ja gets to places so explosively. Sometimes I think he doesn't have enough time to kind of read the defense and see what he wants to do because he's there in the blink of an eye. Remember, they're not showing any type of replays on any of these calls. Kerr's like, no, fuck that. We're challenging this one. And what you're going to see on the replay is Jordan Poole with the principle of verticality. Now, Draymond had a hand on his hip. The problem was the call was on Poole. And so it's reversed, and we have a jump ball at midcourt. And here's the thing. The reason Poole has been able to stay out here with the starters late in games is because he's becoming a better defender. Is he a good one yet? No, but he's becoming adequate. He stops Ja at the rim again. And then here we go on the other end. We out-rebounded this Memphis team 46-39, and that's just something that doesn't happen to Memphis. And then you're going to see young Jaren Jackson Jr. stop playing just for a second, and that's all it takes to free the chef for the 3. Listen, one of my favorite sayings is, you can't be hungry when you're already full, and we saw the Warriors struggle with that during the dynasty. The problem now for the NBA is, though, Steph Curry's no longer full. In fact, he's hungry. 46 points, the scoring title, and what now I believe will be his third MVP. Now, y'all already know the deal. It's come to fruition. Steph, LeBron, Lakers, Warriors, single game elimination Wednesday night. I will have a Laker Warriors preview on tomorrow's Hezi, and we'll talk more about the playoff picture and some of the stories that are going on. It goes without saying, here on Patreon, I will have a breakdown of every Warrior playoff game so long as they're in it. And then I will continue to cover all the way through the finals, all the big games. And then we'll hit the offseason where it looks like we're going to have 2 first-round picks, a full summer league. There's just a lot, man. I'm excited. I'm grateful. Let's go.